Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and another video about the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, and her narcissism. Well, I was shocked when she announced that she was pregnant, because she promised me that she was on the pill. All right, joking aside, don't worry, I didn't do her. Well, she's quite a controversial person for various reasons, and many people say she's a breath of fresh air entering the royal family. She's got her partisan supporters, M&Ms, they should be known as. She went to Ireland last year, just after the abortion referendum, and she told politicians that she was elated with the result of that referendum, which said that abortion is now legal under many circumstances. And this was tweeted by a politician who spoke to her, saying that the Duchess of Sussex was very pleased with the result of the vote. So that was a real faux pas, because the royal family must maintain the strictest neutrality and not express an opinion, support or opposition to any policy, particularly in a country which is not a Commonwealth realm. So remember, about 40% of people in Ireland are still pro-life, and they're horrified. A member of the British royal family, of all people, has come to Ireland to tell them to kill their children. That's how they'll see it. Anyway, that politician then deleted off that tweet. The comment has not been denied by Buckingham Palace. I don't think Meghan Markle would do this, but as she is an outspoken feminist and a pro-abortion activist, she could abort the royal baby and then announce that. Because from a pro-choice point of view, that would be the most magnificent triumph. That would be striking a blow for women's liberation, because there's absolutely no shame in this whatsoever. It's an entirely honourable thing to do. It would demystify it. It would empower other women. I don't think she's going to do that. Anyway, because there are a lot of people who are mean and fixated with her and saying all sorts of horrid things about her and saying she's had 3 abortions. And I don't know of any evidence that she's done that at all, but there we are. So I don't think that Meghan Markle's an evil person, all right? And I had some comments saying, oh, you're so cruel to her. And I've got no racial animus against her whatsoever. Okay, she's half black and half white. Well, it doesn't matter to me what her ethnicity is. That's not a bad thing. It can never be a bad thing. So when I do criticise her, it's absolutely not because of her ethnicity. Anyway, she was a groundbreaker in many ways. The first divorcee to be a first royal time bride. All right, the Prince of Wales, he married Mrs. Parker Bowles, who was a divorcee, but she wasn't his first wife, she was his second wife. Moreover, Miss Markle was the second oldest royal bride ever. Obviously, Camilla Parker Bowles being the oldest. Now, as I said before, I've never had a single lesson in psychology even, and I've never pretended to be a psychiatrist or anything like that. I've been in contact with a psychiatrist discussing Meghan Markle. Now, this physician has never examined her, so it's necessarily conjecture. There are psychiatrists who, in relation to Trump, for instance, feel they can diagnose him from a distance because they've observed so much behaviour. On the internet, you could find hundreds upon hundreds of hours of video of him, and he can't be putting it on a public persona all that time. No one can maintain display mode that much. Anyway, it's speculated that Meghan Markle's got an undiagnosed narcissistic personality. Not necessarily a disorder, that's just her personality. We all have a personality. There's no right personality, I suppose there's no wrong personality. I'm not judging her. Many people are psychologically walking wounded, present company included. So she may have a number of borderline personality disorder traits. And what is narcissism? Well, go back to ancient Greece. Narcissus, if you can pronounce it that way, was completely self-absorbed, and he was staring at his own image in the water. He leant forward so much that he actually fell in and drowned. So it's a cautionary tale, this ancient Grecian myth about the destructive nature of self-love, and not to adore yourself too much, because self-adoration is harmful. Anyway, her enemies in Tinseltown are legion. Now, she's got many foes there, which doesn't necessarily reflect discredit on her. Everybody knows that Hollywood can be catty, and you think that people would be envious of her success. On the other hand, now that she's a princess, a lot of people would be toadying to her because the place is full of sycophants. However, that hasn't happened. That must say something about her. But if she had a borderline personality disorder, it's improbable that she's been able to hold down a job as a television actor for so many years, because she's self-disciplined, she's got focus, she doesn't appear to be too confused. Things are not very complicated for her. She sets herself goals. She aims high, going to marry Prince Harry, and she achieved it. I've got to take my hat off to her for doing that. It wasn't an easy thing to accomplish. But there's certain things that she does have in common with those who've got a borderline personality disorder. She thinks everything going on around her is to do with her. She's always had to be the centre of attention. She's never an observer or merely a participant. So people like that will often lash out at others for supposedly slighting them, even though there was no intention to slight her. And then she'll chastise these people who she thinks have done her wrong, perhaps taken her down a peg or two somehow. Now, again, this is speculation. I don't know if this is true. There are people who say that when she's not in the limelight, she's more erratic, but she's got sufficient self-discipline to control herself when she's in public, when she's on display mode. Anyway, narcissistic personality disorder would give her an fractured emotional state. And her goal is to be the centre of attention. And what better way to achieve it than being a princess? even if her media career stalls, or her acting career stalls, she's always got that. She's always got her Royal Highness. Now, why do people end up like this? It can be in the DNA, or it can be they've been shaped by their childhood experiences. It could be both together. And she had a difficult childhood. So we've got to applaud her for being quite well adjusted, bearing that in mind. It's not her fault that her family situation was difficult, all right? So she deserves sympathy and not contempt because of that. So borderline personality disorders and narcissistic personality disorders are often regarded harshly by the general public. But anyway, the Duchess of Sussex, because she's nubile, because she's brainy, she can employ this to gain attention, and she does that very well. One thing about her is notice how she severed links with other people ruthlessly, family and friends. No, you don't fit my new image, you're out of my life. So she's completely unsentimental like that, quite heartless, and doesn't seem to have any thought about the effect this will have on others, on people who thought they were her loved ones. And then she'll tell herself this is acceptable. There's a lot of psychobabble she can resort to, saying she has to plough her own furrow, she's pursuing her dreams, she's not going to care too much about other people, and she's extracting the max from every single day. She's very goal-driven. So perhaps I should be more like that, more ruthless. So she divorced her previous husbands by posting the rings back. Well, she could have sold them, I suppose, so perhaps that was generous of her. So once she made up her mind, that was it. There was nothing left to discuss, and she was going to move forward rather than waste her ex-husband's time. Perhaps she's right. But was that heartless? Would it have been kinder to sit him down and say, I'm afraid things are just not working, we need to go our separate ways? But maybe that would have prolonged the trauma. I don't know. A clean break might be better. Some people say that. Ending a relationship is like pulling off a bandage. You do it once and it hurts for a second. If you do it gradually, it hurts much, much more. Okay? I've heard this when people are given advice about ending a relationship. It'll hurt like hell for a month and then you move forward. But if you don't do it, it'll be worse. Radical honesty, some people say. So she's had to adjust to royal protocol, and she's deleted off all her social media accounts. And she's been fairly successful at this. So there's a learning curve. Nobody's always right. Even the Queen slips up sometimes, admitting she didn't like Manchester that much. But some people think that she has been insensitive towards Her Majesty the Queen. There was a public fashion awards night not long ago, and Meghan, she was wearing this slinky dress. It was an off-the-shoulder number, and glistening black nail varnish. Now, I don't object to that at all, but some people think that was too daring. Got to err on the side of conservatism, never be too sexy. But anyway, did the Queen take exception to that? I'm not aware, but some people have speculated that she did. Otherwise, I think her wardrobe has been entirely suitable, and I'm sure she likes having the very expensive wardrobe. So people who care that much about their appearance are a bit self-loving, a bit too much for my taste. You know, you think a bit superficial. And I'd say the same for Kate Middleton. So when people lambast Meghan Markle, that doesn't mean it's a racist thing. You know, people in the public eye, they get criticised. And if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Other members of the royal family, Princess Diana, she had plenty of enemies on Fleet Street. And the Duchess of York, that's Sarah Ferguson, she was castigated by sections of the media, the Duchess of Pork and so on, they called her. Prince Charles, all of them have got their reputations trashed. So it'd be racist if she didn't also get a hard time sometimes. But when she was at fashion awards night, she was creating the bump. Maybe that comes naturally to her. So this is going to be her baby. And she's not going to be a young mum. She's no spring chicken. She's, I think, 37. So quite old to parturiate for the first time. And now she went to a Catholic school. And now whether all these images of the Blessed Virgin and child had some sort of a long-term impact on her, may have imprinted. And is she even subconsciously trying to replicate these images? Perhaps. So she's a poser. She was an actress. But there's some people who just can't stop acting. And you think, what's beneath that all? What's the real personality? And sometimes there isn't. She's become the act and lost her own personality, whatever it was. Anyway, I don't think it was too much of a bad thing to do, but she's taken some flack for it. So some people said, oh, the Queen was upset. Well, can't read the Queen's mind, and the Queen's got a bit of a poker face. She tries to keep her attitude and opinion to herself. I think as she's a nonagenarian, she finds it increasingly difficult to restrain herself, and sometimes these things slip out, and they'll say what they actually think. So I don't think anyone doubts that the Queen has got out of her way to be as accommodating as she could to Meghan to make her feel welcome. But others say the trouble is that Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex does not give such consideration to the Queen's feelings. And the Queen's just got to get with the programme and move with the times. So people have said, oh, she's turning the royal family into the Kardashians. I don't think it's that bad. So you see Meghan Markle's face on stage. Now, the psychiatrist suggested to me that Meghan Markle was in deep trouble. Well, I don't know if that's true. I think she's reasonably happy. I don't know of any credible rumours that things are going wrong with her. And her detractors say, oh, she's going to divorce him and the marriage is going to be a cataclysm. I don't think so. They knew what they were doing. They weren't too young when they did it. And they had a relationship for at least 2 years before they got engaged. So a facial expression showed she was someone who craved attention. Well, she was getting it. So she should have been in clover. A pathological look on her face. That's what the psychiatrist speculated to me. I don't quite agree. She should be happy because she's world famous. And, you know, she's a record breaker, smashed the glass ceiling as it were, the first black person to marry into the royal family for centuries. And the Queen definitely has black ancestry in the Middle Ages. Someone speculated that the Duchess of Sussex had taken cocaine before the event. I don't think that's true. I've never heard of any rumours, even when she was a young actress, that she did that. Because she is just imbued with this boundless self-assurance. Perhaps too much, actually, because then people are not circumspect enough and more likely to make mistakes if they've got bags of self-belief. So she's outside the bounds of normal, but I suppose you'd need to be in order to be a Hollywood actress. So she is elated with herself, about to have a baby, and then it got to the age when it was going to be more difficult, when her last chance might be about to come. So I'm glad for her that she's achieving that. Anyway, does she consider herself more important than the Queen? I've heard people speculate that. I don't think so. So she's got this static smile on her face. Is it somehow fake? It's difficult to tell with her. I know some people say that she's a phony, but it comes across as false to other people. But I think it's genuine. Anyway, she likes to be awe-striking towards others. So, as I said previously, she had a dysfunctional relationship with her family, particularly her father, Thomas. Now, he has posed for some photographs in the press, and he's embarrassed to like that. He said sorry. Now, everybody has an embarrassing relation. Bit difficult if it's your father. So, did he have a heart attack or not? The hospital refused to confirm, because even if he said one, there's medical confidentiality. It's not up to them. They can't disclose that information to the public unless they have some sort of written consent from him. But supposing he invented that heart attack, well, it shows you just how eager he was to avoid going, that he would have lied about something that important. But probably better for her that he didn't show up in the end, because he was the mother of all undesirable relatives, forgive the pun. And maybe he didn't realise, not being British, that the royal family can't say this or that, because in his discussions with Prince Harry, he was supposedly saying this and that about Trump. And a lot of British people don't know these things about royal etiquette, and they don't stray into the political arena. And warning Prince Harry not to raise his hand to Meghan, well, quite shocking. Whatever else about Prince Harry, I don't think anyone's ever accused him of hitting a woman. So perhaps he feels slighted by his daughter. Well, almost certainly he does, and there's a way he can hit back. You know, even Kate Middleton, she has relatives, I think it's her uncle, who were doing embarrassing things and speaking to the media, and that's that, difficult to live down. Now, she could give her dear old pater some money to shut him up, but she's not doing that. So she doesn't seem to care two hoots for her progenitor, because perhaps he doesn't sit well with the image that she's crafted for herself. Supposing he were highly successful in some career that she regarded as respectable, perhaps he'd be at the bosom of her family. So I don't think that she's a completely bogus personality. What she does seems real to her. Does she love Prince Harry? I suspect that she does. But this is the difficult thing, a bit like being a millionaire, being a prince. Does this woman love him as an individual or simply because of his title? If he was, Joe Bloggs with no money, would she still be so attracted to him? I don't know. Women are definitely attracted to money and status. Not in every case, but usually, it certainly helps. Just like men are attracted to looks. This man falls in love with an absolutely ravishing woman, right? Supposing she's in a horrific fire or something and her face is scarred for life, would he still love her so much? And to be brutally honest about it, a lot of guys wouldn't. So that's that. But people with narcissistic personality disorder can't really love another person fully because they're in love with themselves. As I say, I don't think she has narcissistic personality disorder. I think she's got some traces of it, tendencies in that direction. And of course, I can't diagnose it, as I've just said. So they are, certainly Harry's smitten by her. And he said how he was besotted with her from the moment he met her. So falling in love with people, crazily in love, is really about pheromones. And when they are head over heels with each other, they're not thinking straight. It's a sort of insanity, truly, madly, deeply. And it's a teenage thing, but I know they're both in their 30s. And everybody knows this is eventually going to cool down, and what will last once the flame is gone has to be something more durable than that. Because he's smitten, but that won't last forever. Hit by, being struck by Cupid's arrow. Are they in lust with each other more than anything else? Just possibly, but it's lasted over 3 years now. And that's why people say, slow down, make sure you're really into this, and then you can carry on. That's why the Church of England had to read the banns twice, had to wait at least a fortnight before getting married. I mean, come on, even to get married up 2 weeks after meeting would be a bit quickly. I don't know anyone who's waited about that time apart from Wilberforce. So perhaps they're still infatuated with each other. If they can remain madly in love with each other all their lives, well, so much the better. But I think that never happens. Remember when she walked down the aisle in St. George's Chapel, Windsor, in May at her wedding, and she was poised beyond belief, and she carried it off with such panache. Now, most people find that, most women find that quite petrifying, because all eyes are on them. There are hundreds of people in St. George's Chapel, even an ordinary church, only 100 to 200 people. A lot of people find that quite nerve-wracking. And obviously there are billions of people, and I mean billions, watching live around the world. There might be paralysis by analysis, just tripping up because you're so shot through with nerves. But no, there was not a trace of a tremor in her. People might just trip up because they're scared, not because it's difficult to walk. He was just abnormally calm and self-possessed. Now, you might say, well, come on, she's an actress. She's got plenty of practice being the centre of attention. But the thing is, this wasn't acting, it was real life. You might think that she'd just be a little bit diffident, but no, she was beaming and she was just radiating self-confidence. It's good to be confident, but it would suggest a bit of narcissism. Anyway, narcissism isn't all bad, and you need a bit of that to be an actor, to be a politician in most cases. And it'd be a pity if we had no narcissism, because we wouldn't have any public entertainment. So there she was, smiling. Well, I'm glad she was happy. Some people have speculated there's some deep anger in her. What about, maybe about her difficult childhood? But hasn't she overcome all that? She has succeeded despite the obstacles set in her path. I had a psychiatrist saying this woman is in need of professional help. Well, I don't think so. I don't think it's that bad. Anyway, I don't doubt that she does care about certain causes like being a feminist, and anyone who hates Trump has got my vote. But, in Hollywood, obviously most people are liberal left, anti-Trump, pro-choice and things like that. So it's not really surprising that she gravitate to Hollywood partly because of her opinions as well as liking acting. Opinions certainly help her fit in. If she's the complete opposite, would be pretty unpopular. So Meghan Markle, as I say, I don't think she's a bad person. Will this marriage succeed? I suspect so, because it helps her goals for it to succeed. Even if it doesn't, think of the book deals and think of the acting roles she can get out of it.